In today's video, I would like to discuss a rather curious mystery. That is the story of this building or house known as La Belle Maison. Now, this is an intriguing old building. Now, this was built by two brothers. This is Abraham Louis Huguenin and his brother Moses Huguenin, and this was built in 1737, and the house itself at one time was an inn. It was a Masonic lodge, and it also served to be the watch factory for this Abraham Louis Huguenin. Now, Huguenin had been appointed as the watchmaker for the King of Prussia and was a quite influential individual who was originally from Lokla. And it's interesting in that the building would later go through his family to David Louis Huguenin, who, after his death around 1836, this building appears to have gone into the possession of a relative of his, Henri Montandon. There is a little bit of a mystery around this ownership, the intriguing which Henry was the owner of La Belle Maison. And we know of some very basic information, actually somewhat detailed. However, the trail is a little confusing along the way, yet there are glimmers of information, and we are able to get to the actual owner and to disperse this cloak of mystery. Now, there's a very interesting book which was published in 1965, and this was a history of la Chaux de Fonds. Trésor de mon père, l'histoire de la Chaux de Fonds, inscrite dans ses roues. And this was published by Édition du Griffon on Neuchâtel. Now, this is very curious and contains much pertinent information. We find that this book mentions the following: La Belle Maison, actuellement Sombaye 17, fut baptisée ainsi par David Louis Huguenin, qui l'avait acquise en 1786, mais qu'il n'y a résidé que dès 1802, et qui consacra une large partie de sa fortune à la rénovation et à son embellissement. Il était fabricant et négociant en horlogerie comme le propriétaire suivant. Son genre, Henri Montandon. La Belle Maison était une ancienne auberge à l'enseigne de à l'Aigle couronné. Elle avait été rebâtie en 1738 par Abraham Huguenin. On lit aujourd'hui encore au-dessous de sa porte d'entrée 17 AH étoile MS 38. Elle hébergea aussi une loge dans une salle au plafond étoile au temps où les loges étaient simplement des sociétés secrètes fondées sous l'influence des philosophes du XVIIIe siècle. So, to translate, the Belle Maison was built in 1738, or rebuilt, according to this, by Abraham Huguenin. Now, it did go to David Louis Huguenin, and he only lived there until around 1786. Well, he acquired it in 1786. lived there until 1802, rather. And a large part of his fortune was its renovation and embellishment. Now, he was a fabricant and also a negociant in watchmaking, as the following proprietor, his son-in-law, Henri Montandon. Now, the Belle Maison was an ancient inn, and it has a crowned eagle above the entrance, and there is an inscription, this is rather interesting. There's a rather almost Masonic inscription above the door, 17 AH star MS 38. And so then it mentions this was a lodge, etc., and place of meeting as a secret society. But this has also served as a watch shop. Now, it is to be noted that this Abraham Huguenon, during this time, 1786 to 1801, when he was living there, he was a juge suppléant à la Chaux de Fonds et maire de la Sagne. So he was a suppleant judge at La Chaux de Fonds and a mayor of La Sagne. And it speaks of the brother Moses, famous watchmakers they were the famous watchmakers of the King of Prussia, the court of Prussia. They also are connected with Josué Robert. Now, it should be noted that the Huguenon brothers were quite well known for their regulator clocks, pendulum clocks. And as a matter of fact, Abraham Huguenon had a Jean-Jacques Montandon engraver with him at Potsdam at the factory he opened there. But he was referred to, Abraham Louis, as the Monsieur Huguenon de Berlin, and Frederick II of Prussia was the one who brought him in to establish the watch industry in his state, in his nation. And he also was engaged in the quality of Inspector General of watchmaking in Berlin. So, but this, back to the ownership. Now we are trying to locate which Henri Montandon this is. And the information that we have is very sketchy. There is mentioned that he is David Louis Huguenon's brother-in-law, and that Henry's wife was referred to as Marianne. Now, this is according to local information in Musée Neuchâtelois of 1932 by Albert Michaud. Now, this source also mentions that Henri Montandon was a renowned fabricant d'horlogerie by this time. So this is by the time that he purchased this, acquired this in 1836. Now, if we look at Davoine listings, now Davoine, we only find these starting from 1842. However, between 1842 and 1845-46, we do see a Montandon Henri under La Chaux de Fonds, and this is as a juge suppléant, just like David Louis. So clearly, these relatives were both justices. They were both in the law system, also lawyers. Now, let us discuss this inscription. Now, this inscription is very curious. We see above the door frame this 17 AH star MS 38. Now, it's a bit Masonic, a bit cryptic, but like a puzzle piece falling into place, we do see that this is the Abraham Huguenon and Moses, his brother, their initials. and 1738. So this is when the building was finished. So this is the story behind this cryptic message. Now, Henri Montandon, we are interested in finding out which one we have. Now, this Henri Montandon, justicier à la Sambaia, this is his listing in Devoin. And this is actually, he can be found there from 1842 to 1847. And after that, we don't see him anymore. So it is assumed that he probably died after this time. Now, there is in Frederick J. Montandon's Les Montandons a notice in one of the biographies, if you will, of a Montandon, Henri, of the branch of Montandon de la Chaux de Fonds, and he appears in correspondence of Bille, Auguste Bille, during the troubles of 1831, and it reads, lors des troubles de 1831 et déposa contre l'avocat républicain Auguste Bille. So this is some terse exchange between the lawyers, Henri Montandon and the Republican lawyer Auguste Bille, and this can be found in the correspondence. So Les Montandon reads, Henri, né 1779, domicile au Bulle. Il était justicier à la Chaux de Fonds lors des troubles de 1831 et déposa contre l'avocat républicain Auguste Bille. Henri Montandon, justicier, m'a entendu discuter avec le maire au cercle et lui dire qu'il faisait que mon projet passe, quand je devrais me mettre à la tête de la révolution et y périr. This is correspondence from Bille on this exchange. Now, going back to La Belle Maison, this is an interesting place. It has captured the attention of Swiss writers, and this is the location. La Belle Maison is the location of a very famous author's sort of this. It's the core scène dramatique in her writing. This author Monique Saint-Hélier, and the house is full of this rich mystique, this ambience, these specters of the old Masonic lodge gatherings and the watchmakers, these Huguenots and Montandons. This is all very feeding into the mystique and myth of this building. So how is it that we discover the actual owner? Now, clearly we have these links that this was a justice who purchased this house from the previous owner, David Louis Huguenon, who was also a justice. And this information is doubly confirmed in the electoral lists from 1858, which still show an Henri Montandon. It's not exactly clear what the actual list date is. It is brought to the 1858 list, so he may still have been alive by that time. Yet it records that this Henri Montandon, who was a justicier, and he had a birth year of 1779. So we we can be confirmed in the belief that this Montandon de la Chaux de Fonds is the Henri Montandon who was the owner. And this is confirmed both in Devoyne and in the electoral lists. And sadly, there's just very little information. We don't know when this Henry died, but it is a rather good feeling to have resolved this mystery. Now, it should also be noted that this house, La Belle Maison, it was hit by a cyclone, and this was in the 20s, I believe, was it 1926, and we find a postcard showing the aftermath. This was Cyclone of 12th June 1926. Obviously, this was rebuilt. It's a local edifice, a historical place. One last thing I wanted to bring to our attention is that Henri Montandon, justicier, is recorded to have been at La Sambaye, number 17. Now, the Belle Maison address of today is Rue de Jérusalem, 59. Now, if we look at the map between these two addresses, these are adjoining properties, and it's very clear that there could be no, just to double confirm, there could be no second Henri Montandon in the area that would have been the owner. This is just absolutely not conceivable. This was a small area, this area of Le Boule, and these are actually in the history of La Chaux de Fonds actually calls the address as the address of today is Sambaye 17. However, the road map does show Rue de Jérusalem 59. So these properties are connected in more than one way, also being tangentially and physically connected. So, well, this is just another episode in a curious story of this intriguing building, La Belle Maison, and the resolution of this mystery concerning the actual ownership. And I hope it was entertaining, and thank you for your attention.